In everybody. It's good to see some returning faces and some new faces. I know that the returning faces have probably heard my spiel a lot in the past, but for the pleasure of the new people here, so I will explain. So you may tell by my accent that I'm not from where you are. I'm from the other side of the pond as such in the United Kingdom. Sometimes I'm not actually in the United Kingdom, but I am actually currently, as I tend to travel quite a bit and still do these classes as I do travel. But I'm a C7 quadriplegic from a spinal cord injury that I had coming up to 15 years ago. So a long time, almost half my life ago. So yeah, I've been doing fitness at classes similar to this for a long time, and I've been working with Gathering Strength here for a number of years since the COVID days as such, and we've decided to continue it together because they've been such a fantastic resource for you guys, and I'm happy to be here to continue it. The session we're going to be doing today is a mindful movement session, and what that essentially involves is different types of movement, breathing, stretches, various different bits and pieces that we put together to essentially to help you to move better, to move easier, and just to loosen up things and to help you to relax and various other benefits too. And I'll explain more as everybody knows who comes to my classes. I talk a lot during these classes as well to try and give you a lot of information. But if you do have any extra comments, questions, or concerns, please feel free to just reach out to me. It's probably best to do it after the class. So, and you can send a message to Liz or Lacey, and they will pass it on to me and get that to me. So then we can help you in whatever way you can. Talk about whatever you can do. Be sure to do what you can do during these sessions. Try and do the best you can. But if there's anything you can't do, I will try and give some adaptations as we're going along. But there may be some things that you have to adapt yourself along the way as well. But you are the best judge of what you can do. I'm just here to guide you through that. And on that note as well, if you need to take any extra break, any extra rest, whether that's for hydration or just whatever it may be, feel free to do that because it's important that you listen to yourself during these sessions as well as listen to what I give you. Right, with that out of the way, let's get on with today's session. Say mindful movement, which is going to be a nice, easy, relaxing session that's going to help us to move better. So let's get ourselves in a nice, comfortable position and start with some nice, deep breathing. First of all, going in through the nose, out through the mouth, and continue that breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. And whenever you're ready to, you can start to close down the eyes as well and bring that focus inwards. And just focusing on the in-breath and on the out-breath. Try and make that out-breath just a little bit longer than the in-breath. That's just going to help us to relax just a little bit more. And as you relax down and you keep that breathing going, keep your eyes closed, keep focused on that breathing. Just notice how it affects your body. Notice how your chest rises and inflates as you breathe in. Notice how you feel as you do that. And as you breathe out as well, notice how your shoulders relax down as the breath comes out and the lungs start to reduce and bringing that chest down slightly. And just notice that feeling as you're doing the breathing. And see if you can feel anything else, whether you can feel the oxygen rushing through your body as you breathe in or as you breathe out. If you feel that relaxation within your central nervous system, just notice how it is. Good. Keep the breathing going, but now you should be in a much more relaxed state of mind and body, which is great. That's where we want to be to center ourselves for today's session. But whilst we're here, let's just thank ourselves for coming to today's session. Often the hardest thing about doing the sessions is turning up in the first place. So you've already done that first step, but now you are here. Let's remind ourselves to stay focused through this next hour, to stay doing the best that we can do for the breathing, the movements, and everything that we're going to be doing in the session. And just reminding ourselves that we don't need to worry about what's happened before us today or what happens after the session. We're here, let's focus on the here and now and focus on what we've got to do today. Good. Okay, continue the breathing as you think that, and thank yourself. And keep the breathing going. And as you do that, start to open up your eyes. And as you do so, now as we breathe in, what we're going to do is shrug the shoulders up. And as we breathe out, we're going to relax them down. And just repeat through that. As you breathe in, shrug the shoulders up. And as you breathe out, relax them down. On the breath in, when we shrug those shoulders up, give them a bit of a squeeze as you do so at the top. And then relax them. What this is essentially doing is almost like pumping the muscle, sending the blood to that area, that oxygenated blood, and essentially giving it everything that it needs to start to loosen up and to feel relaxed. Which can feel a little bit counterintuitive to squeeze the muscles to relax them, but that's exactly sometimes what they need to force them into relaxing. Keep that going there, the best that you can do. Good. Okay, let's start to rotate the shoulders round now in a circle. Doesn't matter which direction you go, because in a minute we will change that direction. Just nice, gentle circles around, the best you can do. You don't have to go through a massive range of motion. We just want to get them moving. Some of you may find it easier to rest your hands on and then on your lap and then rotate round. Just gives you a little bit of a base there to help to support that movement. Or some of you might not feel like that's beneficial. Just have a play around there with what works for you. Good. Let's change direction. So whichever way you're going, go the opposite way now. Just start to feel that movement. Nice and easy, nice and gentle. Good. So that'll work. Okay, so we're going to go to some similar movement to the shrugging, but instead of coming up and down, we're going to push our shoulders forwards as we breathe out, and then we're going to squeeze those shoulder blades together as we breathe in. I'll turn to the side so you can see it from there as well. So as I breathe out, I'm pushing the shoulders forwards. As I breathe in, I'm bringing them back, squeezing them nice and tight, and then going back and forth between the two, nice and gentle and controlled. And essentially what we're doing here is similar to when we did the shrugs. We're squeezing the muscles. We're squeezing the back muscles as we breathe in, squeeze those shoulder blades together. And as we push forwards, we're squeezing the chest muscles slightly and going back and forth between the two. Good, okay. We are going to start to go back to our breathing again, just in through the nose, out through the mouth. And as we do so, let's bring our hands up to around about shoulder height if you can. And then as you breathe out, I just want you to push one hand forwards. And as you breathe in, pull it back in. And then we're going to repeat on the other side. So breathe out, push forwards, breathe in, pull it in. If you don't have a great amount of balance, first of all, try your best to keep this going here, using that core as much as you can to help you to stay upright. But if you don't have that ability, you can always just rest the other hand down to support yourself as you do it, and then swap over And that just will help with that support if you need it. But breathe out as you push that arm out. Breathe in as you pull it in. And try and link it together, almost like your arm is connected to your breath. So, and also, if we could do some nice smooth movements with this as well, that'd be fantastic. So we don't want robotic, like do back and forth. We want nice, smooth, organic movements here, which would be really great. So breathe out as you push out. Breathe in as you pull it in. Excellent work, everybody. Let's start to, if we can, extend it a little bit more by as we reach out. You can either lean on your lap if you need to or not, but reach forwards and put your head down as well if you're able to, and then bring it back in. So just extending it a little bit more by using the body, using the head to get ourselves down in position. And if you can't reach all the way out like I'm able to here, just do the best you can. If that's just a slightly more exaggerated version of the first one we just did, that's absolutely fine. Just get to where you can and remembering to link the breath in. So breathe out as you push out. Breathe in as you pull in. Good work, everybody. I think a few people are having some internet issues, popping in and out. Welcome back. Good work. And what we're going to do is extend it a little bit more, but not by reaching forwards anymore. Instead, when we come back, we're going to try and come up and over the best you can. Now, I'm able to come quite far forwards and then reach it up and over. But if you can't reach it up and over, then we can come forwards and then just to the side a bit more instead. And so essentially what we're just trying to do is draw the biggest circle that you can do here, however that looks. So if that means coming forwards and then up and over, that's great. But it's also great if you can just get around a little bit, even with a bent arm, whatever you can do here, just to extend that movement just a little bit more. And you may find on some days that you can do this really easily, nice and fluid, and some days that, it just feels a little bit harder, maybe a little bit tighter in the chest. And I say that because I started doing gym again this week and my chest is a little bit sore today. So this feels a little bit more restricted in the chest area for myself as I bring it up and around. Good work. So keep that going the best we can. Excellent work. We're bringing it into the middle again. We're going to go through the same sort of procedure as we just did a bit. Instead of coming forwards and back, we're going to come out to one side and then back in. Then reaching out to the other side and back in. Breathe out as you push out. Breathe in as you pull in. And repeat on the other side. Back and forth. Again, if you can keep both arms up the whole time, that's great work. But if not, small adaptation, just rest one arm, reach out to the side, bring it back in, then swap the arms over. Good work. And let's extend that a little bit more as well. And you may need to hold on this one to reach further out. We can start to put our head down as well. And then back in, reach over to the other side. I know that I need to with myself to hold on. If you want to get a little bit further, bring your head so the ear comes down onto the upper arm there. That's just going to help us to extend it a little bit further. But just do the best you can, reaching out to one side and back in and to the other side. And again, it's fine if, one side you can get really far over and then the other side is not so much. Just do what you can on each side as well. Just breathe out as you push out. Breathe in as you pull it in. Nice, easy, gentle movements here. Good work. And again, we're going to exaggerate it a little bit more now. So as we reach out, when we come back, we're going to come up and over and then down to the side. And then again on that side, reach out, up and over, and then down. If you can't come up and over, just come up to the front instead, and then across. And what we like to say here is just imagine, in the most flamboyant way possible, you're trying to put a seatbelt on. So you come out to the side, reach up and over, and then clip that seatbelt in. Excellent work, everybody. And again, just do the best you can with this as you reach out. Especially as you come back, if you can't come all the way up and over, just do what you can do. If that's with a slightly bent arm, if that's lower. And the more we do this, the more you'll be able to do these movements a little bit easier. And maybe as you start to get better at it, it becomes easier and easier. And as it becomes easier, you'll be able to get a little bit more range of motion. And that just helps us to stay mobile and flexible. Good. Okay, bringing it into the center again. What we're going to do now is do one which works our chest and our back. So we already did the one where we shrugged our shoulders forwards and back. Similar movement, we're going to get our arms involved now as well. So we bring both arms back behind us, and then we're going to reach them both forwards. Now I've got an adaptation because I need this adaptation as well, because my core isn't too good, which is to, when we come forwards, to reach with just one arm forwards, and as you come back, both arms back. So your two options there are either one arm forwards, alternating the arms each time, just like so. But I know for some of you, you will be able to do both arms forwards if you've got that core stability, which I can do about one and then I flop forwards. So, but both arms back and then reach forwards. And as we bring the arms back, I'll turn to the side as well, so it's showcase it from there. But as we bring it back, we're really trying to open up that chest, stretch it open here. And as we reach forwards as well, we're really trying to push that shoulder forwards in the joint there. Bring it back. And you should feel, if you can feel in that area, a little bit of a stretch across the chest, maybe the front of the shoulders here. And as you reach forwards, kind of at the back of the armpit area, back of the shoulders, maybe even between the shoulder blades a little bit. And we're just starting to open up those shoulders as we do this. Give it a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more mobility. Good, relaxing there. We're going to continue with this sort of stretching movement as we do over to one side. And I'm going to show you an adaptation if you can't get your arm up and over. So, and then over to the other side. If you can't bring that arm up, I just want you to do the best you can. So if that's up across your face or up across your chest, I just want you to reach over the best that you can do. One side and then the other. But yeah, if you can reach up and over, fantastic. If not, then it is not a problem. We just reach up the best that we can. It does slightly shift where the stretch is. So the more we're up and over, we're stretching the lats, which are the big back muscles. And if we bring it lower, we're shifting it more up onto the traps and the rhomboids as well. But that's okay. We're still getting a good stretch in an area that we can do. Good work. And even if you can come up and over like so, you may even just prefer to come across the front, maybe for one or two. I'll leave that up to you to have a play around, see what works, see where you can feel it the best that you can. But yeah, if you can't come all the way up and over, just come across the front instead. Good work. Okay, what we're going to do now is stretch the rotator cuff a little. And I've got a couple of adaptations for this, but I'm going to come a little bit closer to show you. So for this one, what we're going to do is have the arms up around about shoulder height, and we're going to rotate between this position and this position. And we're going to go back and forth between the two. Now you've got a couple of options here, because obviously for some of us, this may be a difficult position to hold. So you can either do one arm and do a couple of one arm and then swap over. But if that's too much even, then what we can do is the same, but keep the elbows tucked in. So you just come out to the side and then bringing it in. So there's your options there. So if you can bring the arms up, that's great. Keep doing like that. That just gives you a little bit more range of motion because you're not going against your body as you come down. But if not, we can bring it in and then do it there. You'll still get about the same on the outward rotation, but not quite as much on the inward rotation. But if you can bring it up, that just gives you a little bit more freedom in movement. And if you need to do it one arm, do it one arm. That looks good, everybody. Nice. Easy movements, and you get a little bit of a stretch in there as you're doing it. And that stretch will feel quite deep within that shoulder joint. That's the rotator cuffs. If you've ever had any injury in that area, you may feel a little bit of sensitivity. Just do what you can on this. Don't push it too far. But it will help to mobilize it. Yeah, let's ease it off there. Maybe give it a little bit of a shake out. I'm going to do a couple of rotations one way and then we'll rotate the other way just to ease out of it. Yeah, good work. Okay, what we're going to do is have a small little hydration break, and then we're going to go into some mobility through our neck and our spine as well. So I'm going to also join you on the hydration break. And I do recommend that you come with some hydration during the sessions, although we're not doing as an intense session, especially compared to what we do if you're here tomorrow for tomorrow's session. That is much more intense and you definitely will need hydration. But even for these easier sessions, it just helps to keep things going. You don't realize how hard you are working. Stretching is just another form of exercising, and we need the hydration to be able to support that the best way we can. So yeah, always be sure to stay hydrated as best you can during these sessions. Good. Okay, so now we're going on to something that I try to do every single day if I can. And I always do it during the sessions, whichever sessions it is. Those who are regular know that we try to get these in as much as possible, which are spinal movements. And that's because as people who live a more seated lifestyle, we tend to not move our spines as much as they are designed to move. They are designed to be moved a lot every single day. They're there to support us and they're to move us as well. So we want to be able to make sure they're staying as healthy as possible. And the best way to do that is to use them as much as we can. And that's what this does. It sort of fills in all the gaps that we may not necessarily hit during the day. To do this is really nice and simple, and we're going to start off with the first one here, which is neck flexion and extension. And it's nice and simple. We just look up, and then we look down, and essentially we just go back and forth between the two the best we can, nice and gentle and controlled. So just look down, look up. Nice, easy range of motion. And if anyone is like myself and now has some metal in their neck, it's still really important to get it moving. The way they do that operation and get the metal in the neck still means that you are able to move it. And we want to make sure that we are moving it. That keeps it healthy, that keeps the blood flow into that area. And just to keep the muscles, the ligaments, the tendons, the bones, everything as healthy as it can be for as long as it can be. Good, nice, easy movements. Apologies if you hear my beard as I come lower. I've sort of set that a little bit too high today. So you may, as I come down, you may hear my beard a little bit. Good work. So just easy, gentle movements. Going for a good range of motion, but you don't need to stretch your here. We're going to do a little bit more of that in a second. And that is what we're going to go into now. So next time you find yourself looking down, let's just hold it there in that position. So just hold the neck looking down and just sort of let gravity take over a bit here and just let that neck drop the best we can. And that's just going to help us to elongate that spine at the top of the neck, at the back, and that's just going to stretch it slightly. We won't probably get a huge amount of stretch here just because our modern lifestyles tend to have a lot of flexion in the neck area anyway, especially we're looking on our phones, computers, watching TV, lying in bed, whatever it may be. Tends to have a little more flexion than extension, but you'll probably feel just a nice relaxed state here, and that's good. Let's ease out of it now, and before we move on to the next one, I just like to do a couple of looking up and down in between, and that just helps us to reset it slightly. Good. Next time you find yourself looking up, let's look up and hold that position. Now we've got a few options here to increase that stretch. The first one is always try and make sure your mouth is closed the best we can. You can almost feel like you're doing a bit of an underbite as well. That just helps to elongate that neck slightly. Also, what we can do to help is we can put our hand on our sternum here and just pull slightly down. I've got my microphone there, so but we'll just pull slightly down on the skin, keep that mouth closed, and you'll feel that stretch right the way through the front of that neck area. Just doing the best you can. But even just having that mouth closed there really does make a big difference in that stretch in the neck. And if it is uncomfortable to hold or difficult to hold, just hold it for as long as you can, rest out of it, and then go back into it if you need to. Let's ease out of it there. Good. So that was flexion and extension. So flexion's looking down, extension's looking up. We've got 4 movements in our spine altogether. The next one is rotation, which we go one side and the other. So we rotate round one side, rotate round to the other side. And this is the third of 4 movements that we are able to do here. Good work. So nice controlled movements, looking one side, looking to the other, and just rotating around. And when I say controlled, it doesn't necessarily mean slow. It doesn't necessarily mean fast. But what I like to think about is as I'm moving around, at any point I could just stop on a dime essentially. So it's just that's just the level of control that I feel like is good here. So we don't want to be moving it slowly, like too slowly, but we don't want to be moving it so fast that we don't have control of our neck here. So just controlled movements here is the main thing. Because sometimes when we go too slow, we can do it a little bit too robotic, our movements, and we kind of want to make sure it's nice and fluid how we move. Good work. Okay, next time you find yourself looking to the left, let's hold it there. And then if we want to increase the stretch further, it's similar to the last one we did, but we're going to put the left hand around about the right collarbone, and we're going to pull it sort of diagonally downwards. And now this can be difficult to get first time, but I'll come in closer as well so I can show it from here. Sorry, it's a bit blurry when I come in close, but if I'm looking to the left, I take my left hand on the right collarbone and gently pull the skin down towards the armpit. So I'm kind of pulling it down in that direction. And have a play around and see what works for you. You may need to move your head in slightly different positions as well. But once you get it, you'll feel a stretch between your collarbone and sort of the point in your jaw where it changes direction from going between your ear and lower down. So hopefully you can feel that there. But if not, keep playing around and you'll know when you'll get it. Good. Let's ease out of that there. Do a couple of lefts and rights. And then we go on to the right side when you're next there. So looking to the right. If you want to increase that stretch, we can put the right arm or the right hand on the left collarbone and gently diagonally pull it downwards. And again, sometimes it usually helps to keep the mouth closed, rotated. You may even need to look up slightly as you do so. But just have a play around with hand position, head position, and find what works for you here. Good, ease out of it again. We'll do a couple of looking left and right for the rotation. And then we'll go into the final movement of the 4 movements in our vertebrae, which is our lateral flexion. That's where we bring one ear to one shoulder and one ear to the other shoulder. And we go back and forth between the two, nice and gentle and controlled. And you'll probably find of all of the movements, this is the one that it feels tighter as such. And that is because a tight muscle isn't necessarily one that needs stretching. Stretching does help, but a tight muscle is usually a weak muscle. So it's one that is underused, and that's because generally in day-to-day life, we don't tend to do this movement, especially with looking at screens all day. We don't tend to do this movement quite as much. You might see a dog doing it often, especially when it hears certain words beginning with W. It might get a bit excited, but for us humans, we don't tend to do this movement as much. So that's why this tends to feel a little bit tighter, because it's underused. So it's really important to mobilize this one the best that we can here to help with that. Because as I said, the spine is designed to support us, but it's also designed to move. It's got these 4 movements to help essentially point our eyes in certain directions whenever we need to, quickly and effectively. Also with our ears as well, nose, mouth, everything, all of our sensory parts, well, most of them are within our head and our face. So it's really important for us in evolutionary terms to be able to point that head in different directions. So this is where we can help it to move it through the range of motion that it's designed to. Good, let's go on to the stretch in this one now. So next time you find your left ear towards your left shoulder, let's hold it there. And that might feel like enough of a stretch for some of you, but if you want to increase it further, we take our right arm and drop it down towards the floor. The more you pull it down, the more you're going to feel that stretch. That's just going to open that up a little bit more. But if you want to go slightly bit differently, but maybe you might feel it more or not, I'm going to show you from behind here. So option 1 is just hand on the lap. Option 2 is bring that arm down. Option 3, though, you can bring the arm behind your back here. Now, that some of you may be able to, some of you may not. Might be restricting depending on what chair you're in. But this just slightly shifts it on top of the shoulder here, and you'll notice the difference. There's a small difference between the two. It doesn't really matter which one you choose, but just choose the one that you feel works best for you. And if you're not quite feeling it, maybe move the head as well, bringing that ear closer to the shoulder. Maybe looking forwards or backwards a little bit more. But let's ease out of it there. Do a couple of lefts and rights. And then you've guessed it, bring the right ear to the right shoulder. Bring that arm down if you need to, or behind you. Feel that stretch on that left side now. And that's just going to help to open up. Now, if you don't have a regular stretching routine or you haven't done these before, you may feel a little bit of tenderness maybe tomorrow, may even later on today, but probably tomorrow. But that's okay. Just know that the reason for that is probably because we've stretched it, especially if you haven't done it for a long time. And usually the reaction to that is just a little bit of muscle tenderness in there, but that's absolutely fine. Let's ease out of that there. Do a couple of lefts and rights as we do so. Okay, so the next one here requires a little bit more movement because we're going from the vertebrae in our neck here down into the vertebrae in our spine. To do this, we're going to start off with the flexion extension. Instead of looking up and down, we're going to flex and extend that spine. I've just got some spasms here, so I'll let them subside a second. And then I'll move into it. So to flex, we curl over. And then to extend, we arch the spine. Now I've got some options here if you can't quite do it like I'm doing it here. But I like to hold onto the frame, pull myself through as I do the extension, curl over as I do the flexion. Now, if you aren't able to do that, then you can use your backrest as well. So we can sit up tall as we can, try and arch back in the seat and then curl forwards, using the arms to rest on your lap here as well. But the main thing I want you to focus on here is to curl, not bend. So when we bend, say at the hips here, our spine stays flat. But if we curl, we're trying to curl over like a prawn or a shrimp in your case, but curl over the best we can. And then as we come through to the extension, we're not just trying to sit up straight or have a flat back, we're trying to arch it back the best we can. And we go back and forth, and I'll turn a little bit more there. So if I show it from there, we're arching, curling. So curling like a prawn or a shrimp, and then arching like a high jumper trying to go over a pole, and going back and forth between the two. And that's the same if you're pulling onto the frame or just using your backrest to help you to do that. And you can almost try and visualize it in your mind as you're doing it. So remember in science class where we have the skeleton and it's got the vertebrae going all the way up the spine, We want them to all curl over, so each one is working along the spine. So it's just each one is just moving a little bit to help you curl over, much like a slinky. You don't want it to just to bend in one of them because it'll break. You want all that distribution evenly across your spine. So try and visualize that as you're curling, as you're arching. Work. And for me as well, when I start doing this exercise, I really get bad spasms because my back does not enjoy being moved. But as we start to get into it, it loosens up and it starts to move a little bit easier. And I can get pretty good range of motion, especially because I do this most days as well. And I've been doing it for a very long time now. So my back is pretty good with this range of motion. But it doesn't take long to get good range of motion, a good healthy spine doing this. Excellent. Let's move on. So we've done the flexion extension, much like we did with the neck with the rotation. We're going to do it with the rest of our spine now. We can use our chair and our legs to rotate to one side, rotate to the other, and back and forth between the two. I'll turn to the side again. I'll come a little bit closer too. So here I'm putting one hand in between my legs, other hand on my wheel to rotate round, but you may find armrests or whatever you've got available to you to help you rotate round. And on this, we're not trying to really pull ourselves around and try and get as far as we can. We just want a nice, easy movement into it. When you feel that sort of stretch, if you can feel, or resistance, if you can't feel, then move back round to the other side. And you may even find you get a little bit of clicking or popping or whatever in the spine. I generally do as I'm doing this. It's generally okay if that's just a small little bit. Good work. Okay. So we've done the flexion, extension, rotation, and lastly, we're going to do some lateral flexion. So to do that, we bend down to one side, and then back up, and then bend down to the other side. And I say bend, and what I mean by bend is actually curl over, because we're trying to curl over to the side. And just like we did with that flexion extension, we want to imagine we're curling over like a slinky. Each vertebrae is doing the thing to assist that rather than just bending in one point. Good work. Okay, so this next one here isn't one movement, it's several other movements added together. And I like to do it just because it had sort of fills in the gaps between the movements. And it's quite nice and simple. We just go around like we're in a whirlpool, going round in a circle. And there's a little bit of flexion as you come around to the front, a little bit of lateral flexion, extension, and just going around nice and gentle. For me, this kind of just gets some bits in between, some movement, some areas of movement that we tend to do in day-to-day life, whether that's reaching down to the floor, reaching for something, usually reaching for stuff. Forever the bane of a wheelchair user is to forever be reaching for things. And let's change direction. Good movement. Nice work. Another little extra benefit of this as well is as you go around with all these sort of movements, it kind of helps to get the digestive system moving a little bit as well, which is always handy. Good. Okay, let's take one last little hydration break and then we're going to do a little bit more movement and then we're going to go into some meditation to finish today's session. So grab your drink if you need it. Excellent work. Okay, so for this, we're going to start with our hands together in a prayer position, the best that you can do. If you can't get your hands together for whatever reason, then just do the best you can here. From here, we're going to raise up the best we can. We're going to come out and around and then down. Now, obviously, for myself, I can get a good range of motion. So if you can do that, continue. But if not, you can just do the best you can. If that's coming up in front of your face, if it's just small little motions, just do the best you can to come up and through, out and around, and do it the biggest you can do. Now, I have got one extra little step that I like to add in there as well, is as we bring our hands together in a prayer position, try and get those elbows as close as you can, and try and keep them as close as you can. As you raise up, they're going to naturally want to separate, open it up, and round. And the reason we want to get those elbows together, that just helps to open up that back as we do so. But if you can't get those elbows together, don't worry, just do the best you can. Get up, out, and around. And it's going to look different for absolutely everybody. And that's for many reasons, whether that's your length of your arms, the width of your shoulders, the flexibility in your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists, your ability to raise your arms above your head, lots of different things that factor in. So don't worry if you can see other people doing it differently than you, just doing what you can here is the most important thing. Good work. Let's do two more here, wherever you're at. And then once you've done that one, let's change direction. So this time we come down, out and around, nice big circle, the best that you can do. And then bring it down. Try and bring those elbows together as you bring them down and into the middle. And then repeat through. And again, if you can't do the full big up and over the top, just get to where you can. If that's to the head height, or even if it's just little circles here, if that's what you can do, that's good. That can be either a starting point or a point that works for you, and potentially maybe we can get a little bit more in the coming weeks, maybe not. But that's okay. We're still getting benefit from that movement. Opening up the shoulder joints, the chest gets stretched, the shoulders get stretched, the back does too. The forearms come into it a little bit as well. Good work. And let's do two more here as well, wherever you're at. Good work. Okay, let's start to relax this session down a little bit now. So even though they are like gentle movements, sometimes it can bring the breath up a little bit, you know, supporting yourself through the movements, whatever it may be. Sometimes the breath does come up a little bit. So let's just do some breathing again. Try and bring it back down. So in through the nose, like we started this session, and out through the mouth. Trying to make that out breath longer than the in breath. That just helps to relax that nervous system down a little bit more. And I won't go into too much detail today, but I will explain in coming weeks and that as we do so. So how we breathe really affects how our nervous system. Essentially, when we breathe in certain ways, it starts to go into our fight and flight reflex, and when we go into breathing long and slow, it tends to be into that relaxation phase, and that's just switching between the nervous systems that we have in our body. So just when we do this breathing, it really helps to relax us down and really like it almost tricks our mind. So we force our mind to switch its nervous system into the relaxation by breathing. And it's just like everybody says when you're going through a stressful situation, just breathe and it helps. That's not always the best thing because it's like how should you be breathing? Long, slow breaths, especially breathing slow on the out breath, really does help to calm things down. So let's continue that there. And before we move on to the meditation as well, so just keep your breathing going. I'm just going to tell you about what you'll see in upcoming weeks during these sessions as well. So that was kind of quite foundational today. We did very simple movements. We're going to get a little bit more complex in some areas. Some areas will get a little bit less complex as well in terms of the range of motion abilities that we're doing, breathing techniques, etc. So that really just helps us to give a foundation level. Also helps for me to see the new people to the class so I can adapt and show you different ways as we go through the coming weeks as well. But we'll be doing lots of different types of things, adding in more yoga type movements, adding in more Tai Chi type stuff, different meditation techniques, and all that. So be prepared for it to change and do different things and keep it a bit more fresh and interesting as we go through. Good. Okay, let's go into our relaxation phase now with our meditation part here. So when you're ready to, let's close down your eyes and bring that focus inwards. What we're going to do here is a meditation technique called a body scan. Essentially, we start from the top of our head and we work all the way down to the tip of our toes. And what we do by doing this is we're focusing on each area individually. So there's sometimes, if we've got issues elsewhere in our body, all our focus goes onto that. So say you've got a shoulder that's hurting. Our focus goes so much onto that, we tend to reject the rest of our body in terms of what's going on. And even if you're not hurting somewhere, sometimes we just don't pay attention to our body. So a body scan is an intentional way of listening into every single part of our body. We're not trying to change anything, we're just trying to listen. So let's start at the top of our head, and we'll do this all together, and I'll guide you through. And I just want you to put your attention right into the crown of your head here, and just see how it feels. Now, as we move down, as I say, we're scanning through our body, we're going to go down into our forehead. And it may help here to move it. You can wiggle your forehead around. You can touch it with your hands if you need to as well. And just notice how it feels. We're not trying to change anything. We're not trying to do anything here. We're just noticing how it feels. Moving down now into our eye sockets and just feeling there. And you may be able to come away with some solutions. For me, eyes are tired. It's towards the end of the day here in the UK. So for me, my eyes have been open for a long time, so they're starting to feel a bit more tired, and that's just noticing how it is. Moving down into the cheeks and the jaw area. Again, we can move this around, see how it feels. And for me, I've been talking for the last hour, so the jaw area tends to feel a little bit more on the tired side, and that is okay. We're just noticing why it feels that way, maybe. Moving around now to our neck, and we've done a lot of movement in it today. So it may feel pretty good in terms of mobility. You can move it quite easily, but it may feel a little bit sore as well because we have been stretching it, and that is okay as well. We're just noticing how it is, maybe giving a reason why it feels that way. Let's move now out into the shoulder area. So coming down at the base of the neck, out to the shoulders, and just noticing how you feel. We can give those shoulders a little bit of a wiggle, see how it is. Again, we've done some stretching in there. So it may feel loose, but also a little bit tired or sore. That's good. Moving down our arms into our elbows now. And again, we can extend the elbows, reach them back in. Didn't do too much in this area today, so it may be feeling less mobile than the neck and the shoulders did, but all the same there. Coming down now into our wrists, and again, we didn't do too much in this area, so maybe just giving it a wiggle down through the fingers as well, if you can move them, and just noticing how it feels. Bringing that focus from our hands now all the way back up into our spine. And we can give that spinal wiggle like we just did a minute ago, noticing how it feels, giving it some movement. And if you're like me, with a spinal cord injury or something similar where you're not able to feel below a certain area, that's okay. We're going to go into our legs and our hips, our knees, everything as well. Now, just because you can't feel in this area, that's okay. Just put some focus and attention down there and see if you get any feedback from it. So into our hips now, we can give them a little bit of a wiggle by going side to side, back and forth, just noticing how that feels. And then going down into our knees. And again, may not be able to move them, may not be able to get any sensation back, but just send some signals down there, see what comes back, and just making a note of it mentally. Coming down now into our ankles. If you can move these areas, feel free to give them a wiggle, but if you can't, that's absolutely fine as well. Just putting some focus and attention down there, noticing how it is. And then we're bringing it all the way down into the tip of our toes. Keep the focus down there at the toes. When I say together, we're going to take some deep breaths in. And I want you to imagine when you breathe in, from the tip of your toes all the way to the top of your head, it's almost like there's a beam of light going from your toes all the way up to the top of your head as you breathe in. So breathe all the way in from the tip of your toes. And then breathe out. 2 more of those. Breathe in. Breathe out. 1 more. Breathe in. Breathe out. And as you breathe out, you can start to open up your eyes, bring yourself back to the room. And as I did, a dog came and licked my hand during that. So that was unexpected, but there we go. And we have brought ourselves to the end of today's session. With that body scan as well, what we're essentially doing there is creating a baseline. So we're just checking in with our body, seeing how it feels. And we'll be doing this, maybe not next week, but maybe the week after or whatever down the line. And with that, essentially what we're doing is just checking in with our body every so often and just noticing how it feels and having a better communication with our body, essentially. And really like listening to our body, not just listening to it when something's going wrong, but listening to it on a regular basis when things are going right, when they're wrong, when nothing's really happening, and just knowing how it should feel or how it regularly feels. So the more we do it, the better understanding we get of how we feel on a regular basis.